Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and residents of Sembawang. And Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh to all the Muslim brothers and sisters. Tonight I'm going to speak in English and Malay. Let me start off with English. In recent speech at the PAP 32 Party Congress, Prime Minister stressed that the mainstay of the government policy is economic growth, openness to foreigners, and meritocracy. There were usual warning that the low-wage worker will be harder hit if we don't have growth, that young people will leave if we don't have meritocracy. Such our economy will suffer without foreign immigration. Such calls are nothing new. We have heard this refrain many times before. After the minor setback of the 2011 general election, we expect the PAP to come out with something much better. But unfortunately, it is more of the same. Growth may be good, but it's rarely spread its benefit evenly. It rewards the rich and the powerful amply. By comparison, the benefits to the poor are meagre. For this reason, the income gap continues to widen, and with economic growth, Singapore has one of the highest income disparity in the world. This means that the bulk of the wealth is flowing into the pockets of the rich, leaving the crumbs for the poor. Thus, the greater beneficiary of growth in the long run are the elites. In spite of the many years of economic growth, how many of us, especially the lower 20% poor, can say that we have achieved a good life and attained a meaningful standard of living? This must not be confused with having electronic gadgets, TVs, refrigerator, washing machine, etc. A meaningful standard of living refers to the ability to provide for basic needs of our family and full and rich material life for our children, as well as having the leisure to think and debate, to pursue a hobby, and to have time for family and friends. With inflation, the higher cost of living, the higher cost of housing, higher cost of healthcare, most Singaporeans are working longer and longer hours just to keep their needs above the water. Many families need 2 or more income streams to survive. Even senior citizens who have many years of working life behind them have lamented that they cannot afford to retire. Is our standard of living something to be proud of when our housing is beyond the reach of the young and elderly, complain that they would rather die than be sick? Our economy is driven by greed. The statistics show that the rapid increase in GNP and GDP, but they do not reflect the feeling of the people who find themselves frustrated, alienated, insecure, and powerless. We have promoted a culture where big business look only at the bottom lines and sees workers as economic digits. The recent SMRT incidents bring the industrial relationship into view. Without the illegal strike by the bus driver, it would not be known that workers have been poorly paid and living in cramped conditions with bedbugs as their bedfellows. If there has been a welfare officer, the problem need to have occurred. The action that follows is equally grievous right from the start. It's already decided that the refusal to go to work and strike and an illegal one at that time. Where is the justice when striking workers are repatriated without being given a fair hearing and mitigation factors are not considered? Justice must be done and manifestly seems to be done. Is there going to be zero tolerance for the management of SMRT for the contribution to this whole affair? We need to have a moral value to humanize our economic views. Today, SMRT is a profit-making body. In the first place, each is mistakable into listed company and allow it to be driven by profit. It is not a commercial outfit and answerable to the shareholder. The profit could be used to pay Singaporean workers adequately enough so that it not need to have to look outside for the country for low-wage workers. Since bus driving is an essential service, should not bus driver be adequately paid and their grievance addressed so that they need not stay in the bed and take medical certificate in order to make their problems heard? If our economy is business-oriented and not people-oriented, we will continue to face worker dissatisfaction and exploitations. It will lower the standard of living. Catchphrase to close the debate on the call for justice just for society. In the keynote address, the Prime Minister defended meritocracy as a value added for our country. Nobody is quarreling with that. A person should be promoted and rewarded on his merit according to some measurable criteria. However, a level result, a scholarship alone should not be used to define meritocracy and determine appointments. In Singapore, overly stressing this definition of meritocracy has created an attitude of arrogance. This has fostered a culture of elitism, so much so that college students once asked someone to get out of her elite, uncaring face, and some politician thinks they are making huge sacrifice because they could be paid much more in the private sector. The Prime Minister reinforced the elitism when he told his activities that if Singaporeans had a blue constituency and red constituency, I think Singapore will be in trouble. It is still we know best attitude. In other words, only the views of the persons and outstanding personal abilities, wealth, specialized training, and experience matter. Only the PAP is fit to a government. The people in the 2011 GE has made their message very clear. They want to be heard and want to be part of the decision-making process. Yet the PAP seems firm on sitting on their high horse. The Prime Minister also missed the point of people's objection to having too many foreign imports. They are not against having foreign talents come in and add value to the economy and the vibrancies to the country. What they are angry about is the indiscriminate employment of cheap labor in the name of meritocracy to replace our own capable citizens. What they are so about is that the rapid influx of the immigrants has caused overcrowding to our insufficient physical infrastructure and the sudden invasion into our personal and social spaces. Who has not experienced a sudden squeeze on our trains, buses, and having to pay through our noses for cars and flats? Who has noticed that littering is slowly making a comeback in Singapore? Many Singaporeans are angry because they feel they are being displaced in their own country. They want to see this island as a country that they can be proudly loyal to. They do not want the country to become an international center inhabited by migratory whose attachments are questionable. If the PAP fail to see this, they will not be able to change. You have to vote for the opposition. Thank you. Now I'm going to speak in Malay. Salam sejahtera, saudara-saudara dan saudari-saudari yang saya hormati. Selamat datang dan ribuan terima kasih kerana sudi hadir pada malam ini. Masyarakat yang berpelajaran lagi bijaksana, sejak PAP mula berkempen di pilihan raya 2015, bila-bila agaknya Sejak PAP mula berkempen, banyak sungguh kisah-kisah silam yang kononnya bermula sejak berpuluh tahun kononnya. Tapi baru 50 tahun. Kisahnya, kononnya Singapura ini sebelum ada PAP adalah sebuah negara padang jarak, padang terkukur. Mereka berkata, tanpa PAP, pasti rakyat hidup merana tak punya apa-apa. Ini saya nak tanya, betul ke? Cuba kita kaji balik sejarah. Hospital terbesar, Hospital General, Singapore General Hospital dibina pada tahun 1821. Pangkalan Keppel pula dibuka pada tahun 1852. Macritchie Reservoir siap dibendung pada tahun 1868. 1868. Stesen kereta api Tanjung Pagar dibuka pada tahun 1932. Pada tahun 1937, lapangan terbang Kalang dibuka. Pada tahun 1949, Universiti Melaya di Singapura yang menjadi asas NUS pula dibuka. Saudara-saudara dan saudari-saudari sekalian, dan satu lagi sejarah penting ialah yang tidak seharusnya kita lupa. Siapa tahu? Pada tahun 1939, seorang warga Singapura bernama Ahmad bin Muhammad Ibrahim telah lulus dengan ijazah kepujian kelas pertama bagi ekonomi dan ijazah kepujian kelas pertama bagi undang-undang daripada Universiti Cambridge. Beliau kemudiannya dilantik menjadi Attorney General pertama Singapura yang bukan rakyat kelahiran British. Saudara-saudari sekalian, pandai tak? Tentunya saudara-saudara dan saudari-saudari bijak dan pandai belaka. Cuba kita tanya sikit. Kalaulah benar Singapura sebelum adanya PAP adalah padang lumpur. Padang lumpur ada hospital besar ke? Padang lumpur ada lapangan terbang ke? Padang lumpur ada cendekiawan yang mendapat ijazah kepujian tinggi ke? Kan pembohong itu semua. PAP is a liar. Before PAP, they said Singapore have not been developed, but they have been developed. They have Singapore General Hospital, they have airport Kalang, they have university. So they are lying. Padang lumpur itu betul ke bohong? Agak-agak betul ke bohong? Betul ke tanpa PAP kita akan terus minum air dari perigi? Betul ke tanpa PAP jalan-jalan raya masih menggunakan batu pasir? Betul ke tanpa PAP bangunan pencakar langit tak akan terbina di sini? Saudara-saudara dan saudari-saudari sekalian, sebelum saudara-saudara dan saudari-saudari menjawab, anda fikirlah, dia saja negara-negara jiran. Pulau Pinang, Kuala Lumpur, Ho Chi Minh, Hanoi, Bangkok, Jakarta, Medan dan Manila. Bagi sesiapa yang pernah ke sana pasti tahu, bangunan tinggi dan pun ada, lebuh raya pun ada, di Bangkok dan Kuala Lumpur, MRT pun ada, di Ho Chi Minh sungai besar yang bersih pun ada. Sekarang saya nak tanya, di kota-kota besar negara jiran, pemerintahnya siapa? PAP ke? Di sini ingin saya tekankan, kemajuan kota besar di negara jiran sejajar dengan kemajuan kota Singapura. Bezanya Singapura, ini sebuah kota yang juga sebuah negara, atau dalam bahasa Inggerisnya city state. Pendek kata, kemajuan pesat tidak berlaku hanya di kota Singa. Ia juga berlaku di semua kota-kota besar di seluruh dunia kerana ia adalah kemajuan zaman. Andainya parti yang memerintah Singapura, tidak mungkin kemajuan zaman akan ditolak. Saudara-saudara dan saudari-saudari sekalian, jika parti-parti pembangkang menang untuk menubuhkan satu pemerintah bersama, tidak mungkin akan ditolak penerbangan bajet, sistem internet, perdagangan global, pengurusan pentadbiran sistematik dan sebagainya. Sebab ia semua kemajuan zaman yang boleh dan pasti diterapkan dalam pentadbiran negara demokratik. Jadi cukuplah sudah kita ditakut-takutkan. Cukuplah sudah kita dengar kisah dongeng berpuluh-puluh ribu tahun lamanya. Cukuplah kita dengar dari PAP iaitu the Past Activity Party is no longer People Action Party or pick another party. They always credit the past history. History is a past. We want the future. We want future for our children. Future for the young. For the future. Saudara-saudara dan saudari-saudari yang amat saya hormati. Selama lebih 50 tahun pemerintah Singapura pada dasarnya dilihat sebagai demokratik. Tetapi begitu lama kita diurus oleh pemerintah satu parti. Mungkin kerana sudah lanjut usia dan agak nyanyok, PAP lupa pada janji-janji kepada rakyat Singapura. Mereka berjanji untuk menjamin kehidupan rakyat di masa tua. Tetapi mereka sekap pengeluaran CPF. They promise for the old people, but they block our CPF. We want our CPF to be returned back. Mereka berjanji kehidupan bertaraf twist. Tapi yang naik hanyalah kos sara hidup kita. Harga barangan, harga rumah, bukannya taraf kehidupan. You remember? They promise us sweet standards of living. What kind of sweet standard are you living right now? You ask yourself this question. Mereka berjanji untuk memberikan sokongan kepada anak-anak kita. Tapi setelah anak-anak kita bertungkus semua belajar, mereka beri pekerjaan kepada rakyat asing kerana kononnya lulusan Universiti Manila lebih berkualiti dan lebih murah untuk digajikan. Adakah kita bijaksana saudara-saudara dan saudari-saudari sekalian yang amat saya hormati? Jika kita bicara bijaksana, pasti kita akan fikirkan sudah berapa banyak PAP bohong. Mereka bohong tentang sejarah. Mereka menakut-nakutkan kita dengan dongengan. Kononnya tanpa PAP kita semua hilang jati diri sebagai rakyat Singapura yang maju. Mereka bohong sana, mereka bohong sini. PAP tadi a lot of lies to you all. Please Singaporean and resident of Sembawang, wake up your idea. Dan yang paling tak boleh diterima, mereka bohong tentang perlunya gaji menteri berjuta-juta dolar. Cuba kita tanya, sejak kebelakangan ini, siapa yang diterbangkan dalam GRC untuk menjadi menteri? Bekas askar, bekas pensyarah. Bekas engineer, bekas askar. Bekas guru, bekas askar. Bekas doktor, bekas askar. Bekas pegawai, nak pegawai puli. Dia dah tak ada orang lagi nak masuk jadi politik. Apakah ini yang digelar pemimpin terbaik generasi keempat? Menteri yang layak menerima gaji berjuta-juta dolar? Kalau mereka tak dapat parachute ke dalam GRC, bolehkah mereka ini capai gaji sebanyak itu? Cuba kita nilaikan ini. Bohong atau tidak? Bohong. Satu lagi saudara-saudara dan saudari-saudari sekalian. Kita lihat pula kepada anggota Parlimen Melayu Islam kita dari PAP. Tiap-tiap pilihan raya, mereka janji untuk perjuangkan nasib masyarakat Melayu Islam. Setiap kali ada pilihan raya, mereka kata masyarakat kita sudah mencapai taraf yang lebih baik. Dan setiap kali mereka beri contoh, anak Melayu Islam boleh ke Menara Gading. Bukankah ini cerita lama? Pada tahun 1939, sudah ada anak Melayu Islam Singapura yang mencapai taraf dunia di bidang pendidikan. Kenapa sekarang masih terkial-kial? Dulu kita mempunyai studio Jalan Ampas dengan penghasilan filem-filem yang tidak luput hingga ke hari ini. Sekarang sudah ke mana? kita pernah ada jago sukan raket seperti Ismail Marjan dan Zainal Abidin Malik yang banyak merangkul trofi di pesada internasional. Mengapa tidak lagi? Kita ada pemimpin dan pemikir penggerak masyarakat seperti Muhammad Yunus Abdullah dan Masuri SN. Tapi kenapa pemimpin sekarang senyap dan takut nak bergerak? Bagaimana sekarang? Lebih maju ke atau mundur jika diambil kira kemajuan zaman yang berlaku sekarang ini? Jika kemarin saya berucap banyak mengutarakan statistik, kini saya cuma jemput anda para pengundi yang saya hormati berfikir bersama-sama. Apakah kita bijaksana? Jika ia sanggup kita terus dikotak-katikkan oleh dan terus menerus sahaja dibohongkan dengan dongeng-dongeng semata-matanya. Dari itu, saya menyeru kepada penyokong dan pengundi di Sembawang JRC, beri kami undilah kami, beri kami sokongan. Kita perlukan sokongan anda. Undilah kami di Parlimen. Kami janji yang terbaik. Suara anda adalah suara kami di Parlimen. Kami akan jadi wakil rakyat anda. Sekian, terima kasih. Thank you, good night.